Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jennifer Tresp, and I'm the Training and Unified Sport Director for Special Olympics Pennsylvania. In UCS, I take care of the northwestern portion of Pennsylvania for track and field competitions. Today's presentation is for you, the returning coach. We have a lot of updates for you. We have some new information about the season that is going to take place. So please, if you have any questions, type them into the question and answer box on the bottom of your screen. We will make sure your questions get answered by the end of today's presentation. If there's something that we're not quite sure on, we will make sure we will get back to all of you so that you have the information and everyone is on the same page. So we're going to get started. Today's agenda is a lengthy one, but we have confidence that we can make it in 1 hour, if not less. So we're going to introduce you to the SOPA liaisons. We have a couple new ones this year. We'll talk about the 2021 participation options due to COVID. We'll tell you what's new for 2020. Then we'll give you some reminders about team members, due dates, events, divisioning, and meet management. So let's move on to our first slide. So I'm Jennifer Tresp, the first one at the top there with my email. We also have Lauren Salter on staff, and Lauren handles York, Lancaster, Westmoreland, Washington, Beaver. Ashley, our newest SOPA staff and SOPA liaison, who handles Bucks, Chester, Montgomery, and Delaware. Jason Marola handles the Greater Lehigh Valley and Pocono region, also known as GLVPR. So if you hear us say GLVPR, quickly like that, we're talking about the Greater Lehigh Valley area and Pocono region. That is the region that has places such as Monroe County, Bethlehem, Berks, Harbin, and a couple other counties involved. Jillian Stringfellow helps out from Slippery Rock University. She'll handle Lawrence, Butler, and Mercer. Allison is our newest part-time liaison. Allison will handle Wayne, Pike, and Lackawanna. We have Mike Jordan, who handles all the Philadelphia programs, and Peggy Feldman for the Pittsburgh programs. If you are not sure who your liaison is, please let me know. They should have been in contact with you already. And hopefully if you were on this presentation, you know who your liaison is or who your new liaison happens to be. All right, we are very excited. This is a really big announcement for us. You've probably heard us talk about our USA Games or our World Games, where we travel around the United States or around the world. But for the first time ever, they will be offering a unified track and field competition at World Games in 2020. And yes, it is in Disney World. We are going to be in Disney World at the sports, I just blanked on the name. But it
the Wide World of Sports.
Thank you, Wide World of Sports Center in Disney World for the majority of the information, okay, or for the majority of the competition. So the first time ever we're going, we have one slot. It is for one track and field team. So it will be 4 athletes, 4 partners, plus 2 coaches for the team. The events that will be offered are the 100, the 200, and the 400, the shot put and the long jump and relay. So they will be eliminating the 800 and they will not be offering the mini jab. The dates are June 5th to the 11th, 2022. It's in Orlando, Florida, and we will definitely have more information to follow. So you may have to figure out by the end of this season if your team is interested in going, if you are interested in a team attending. Pennsylvania is taking over 125 athletes and coaches to these games outside of this unified track and field team. So, but the thing is, if your partners are seniors or your athletes are seniors and they will not be returning next year, they will not be available. So it will be available for athletes and partners who are going to be seniors next year. Okay. Juniors, sophomore, and freshmen. Okay, so this is a great opportunity that we're very excited to be able to share with you. So I'm now going to hand it over to Ashley. And again, Ashley is new. If you remember Kelsey Foster, Kelsey now lives in Massachusetts where there's lots of snow. And Ashley has replaced her and Ashley is from Montgomery County. So Ashley, will you please take us through the 2021 participation options?
Yeah, thanks, Jen. Like Jen said, I'm Ashley. We have a couple different options this year for participation. We understand it is a little bit of a crazy year because of COVID. So we do have a couple different options. In the next couple slides, we're going to explore them a little more in depth. In-person training and competition will be the first one. The second is in-person and virtual student training and competition. The third is in-person practice and virtual competition, no travel allowed. And as a side note, fitness heptathlon may be an option for schools who are not allowing spring sports. You can speak directly with your liaison for your region about this. And as Jen said at the beginning, if you have questions as we go along, feel free to type them in the chat box. All right, so our first option, this is for schools that do not have any restrictions on traveling to other schools to compete or hosting other schools at their school to compete. Typically, we offer tri-meets. This year, we will allow dual meets, so you can have 2 schools competing if your school is not comfortable with 3 schools in one place. This decision, again, is made by each school. If this is the decision that your school chooses, all COVID-19 protocols still have to be followed by the state, PIAA, by your school, etc. We will be asking schools for this info on what your choice of competition is in the upcoming weeks. So you don't have to decide today. Okay. Our second option is for schools that have some students who may come in person to participate at practice and competitions, and also may have some students who are choosing to participate virtually from home. Again, I just want to remind everybody that this is a decision that is made by that student and their parent ahead of time. So the way we have this set up is the students at home will join Zoom or some other video platform that's decided by the school at the same time as the students practicing in person. Your head coach is responsible for the students on the track. The assistant coach is still out there on the track, but they will connect to the internet, whether it's on a cell phone, whether it's on a computer, if you have Wi-Fi out there. And the assistant coach will be helping to facilitate Zoom for the students who are at home. As you'll see on the next slide, the assistant coach on Zoom is only going to be for the first 10 to 15 minutes of practice. So I don't want anybody to think they have to be on Zoom for the entire practice. So if we have students who are at home participating virtually, the part of practice they will do with the team that's in person is warm-ups. We want the first part of that to be social interaction. So the coach should be prompting the students on the computer and the students at the track to talk to one another, say, hey, what's up? Encourage them to have friendships. Maybe if they need a buddy, pair them up, somebody they can talk to when they're not at practice. And then the warm-up stretches or drills should be done together. So the assistant coach will be doing it on Zoom, and then the students at the track will be doing it at the same time as those on the computer. After that, the practices will kind of separate. Those who are on Zoom do not stay on Zoom for the rest of their practice. SOPA staff will be sending out workouts for athletes that they can do at home for the different sports, except for long jump and relays. We won't be having workouts for those at home. So the assistant coach will say, okay, here's your workout for today for the students at home. And then they will sign off Zoom, do their workouts at home. If they have parents, sibling, guardian, etc., that can help them. And then they should do cool down stretches as well. Those are in the handbook. Again, this is an option that is chosen ahead of time, that the parents are deciding that they want to do this option, so they will be involved. Okay. For competition for the students who are at home participating in practice virtually. Again, this is a parent's decision. What will happen is these students and their parent will work with the coach to arrange a time either at the beginning or the end of in-person practice to come compete 2 times during the season to get scores at the beginning of the season and then again at the end of the season. This will be prearranged between the coach and the parent. The thought is that there won't be many other students around if it is at the very beginning or very end of practice. Again, this is a parent's decision. It is not required. It is chosen by the parent and they are on board for this. So that is our option for students who are competing from home. And then our third option, if some of you have bocce schools, this option may sound a little familiar. This would be your school is able to practice together, but you are not traveling or hosting other schools. So we will be having a virtual competition format similar to what we have in bocce. So your school is not traveling anywhere. No one is coming to your school. On the scheduled day of the meet, you will gather at your track and you'll connect via Zoom, whatever, another video platform. Each school, and this is a little different, each school needs to have their own PIAA official. This is so we can ensure, validity and that measurements are being taken correctly, that sort of thing at the meet. So each athletic director for each school participating in the virtual meet will need to have their own PIAA official. The track events will be conducted at the same time in both schools. We will have an electronic score sheet that we are going to provide to you guys that you will use to enter times at the end of each individual track event and the distances at the end of each field event. Again, the score sheet will be broken down. It will have divisions. We are going to have a training on how to use the score sheet in the beginning of April. Those dates are later in this presentation. So you will get more information on how to use the electronic score sheet. It is updated in real time. Again, if you've done bocce this winter, it is similar to that. You will both be entering scores at the same time, points awarded based on place of finish. And then the scores are updated in the online platform after each event, so each team knows what their standing is. Again, we understand that everybody may not have access to the internet out at their track. If you do have access to the internet at your track, you will need 2 of your volunteers to be scorekeepers, and they will be responsible for entering the times into the electronic score sheet as the meet is ongoing. If you do not have Wi-Fi out at your track, you still need to have 2 volunteers be scorekeepers. They will manually keep track of your scores, and then either that night or the next day, the scorekeepers and our head coach, once they can connect to the internet, will enter the scores into the score sheet. So for those matches, a winner will not be determined right away, but either that night or the next day, we will be able to determine who the winner of the meet is. We have some COVID-19 health and safety guidelines that we just want to review with you guys. Again, make sure you're following PIAA and any guidelines your school has. We do ask that everyone wear masks. This includes volunteers at your meets. Athletes can take their masks off when they're running, but when they're on the infield, if they're cheering, stretching, that sort of thing, they should be wearing their masks. We also recommend that students bring their own water bottles. And if it's one of the plastic ones, that they put their name or initials somewhere on the bottle, on the cap, to limit students confusing them and drinking out of somebody else's water bottle. On the track, athletes should be placed in every other lane for all running events to create a safe distance. We recommend that you do not use starting blocks, as it's hard to clean and sanitize those from one student touching them to the next. And if you are traveling to other schools, we recommend your students change in your school's locker room before you travel. For relay handoffs, our recommendation is that students wear non-latex disposable gloves that they take off and get rid of as soon as they hand off the baton. Students obviously will need reminders not to touch their face, their equipment, their uniform with the glove on. Again, that is our recommendation for handoffs and keeping things sanitary. For the shot put and mini jab at practice, schools should practice the events and stations. Students can take 3 to 4 consecutive throws or non-consecutive throws, depending on the number of shot puts and mini jabs that you have. If you are traveling to another school to compete, you can bring your own implements with you. That'll help eliminate students touching things, materials. And after they throw, students will be retrieving their own implements, and then they'll be sanitized in between the different students using them. Yep, so like I said, when you're traveling, you should bring your own implements. If there's 2 schools at an event, that's 6 mini jabs total, 2 shot puts total. Depending on the number of students in a division, students should take 3 non-consecutive throws. Again, retrieve their own implement and sanitize in between. All right, I am going to turn it over to Mike Jordan, who is our UCS liaison from Philadelphia County.
Thanks, Ashley. So some exciting new developments that SOPA has developed to help you guys with your track and field program this season. First of all, to address medicals. So your SOPA liaison in Special Olympics Pennsylvania, we're not going to collect your PIAA medicals. At your school, if your athletic director collects them, if the coach of the team collects them, if the school nurse has them, that's great. All participants still need to get a PIAA medical completed, but Special Olympics Pennsylvania will not be collecting them. As far as the SOPA waiver, this is something that is new. All participants must complete it. If the participant is under the age of 18, then their parent or guardian can complete it. The link is in the presentation. So as we send you the presentation, you can access it there. Also, you can contact your SOPA liaison and they can give you this e-waiver. If your participant does not have access to the internet, please let us know and we can get you a hard paper copy of the SOPA waiver. These SOPA waivers will come directly to us, so don't worry about sending them to us because we have access on the back end to let you guys know who has submitted these and who has not. So typically, the PIAA Track and Field State Championship is held at Shippensburg. This year, because of COVID, this will not be happening for Unified Sports. So just to let you guys know that while your culminating event within your region may happen, you may have a regional championship, there's not going to be a Special Olympics Pennsylvania Unified Track and Field State Championship held at Shippensburg this year. Also, a long overdue change is we are finally making the switch over to meters and centimeters for measuring field events. Previously, this was feet and inches, so please check your measuring devices that you have at your school and that you use to make sure on the other side that they do have meters and centimeters and to not be using them in feet and inches. Long overdue, like I said. The Track and Field Resource Guide has all of this information and much more in it. You will get a hard copy mailed to you, and you also get an electronic version emailed to you. And now I'm going to pass it to Jen for team requirements. Jen, I think you're on mute.
We did have a coach ask about how will they know if the SOPA waiver was completed by their athletes. We will be tracking it for you on your roster. There's actually going to be a box that says SOPA waiver, and we will put an X in there every time we check in to make sure that we have one for your athletes. This way you can check your roster and follow up with the athletes who are missing one, or we will give you a call to tell you which team members still need to submit it. So let's move on to the track and field requirements. This is for your team roster. Again, your roster needs to be between a minimum of 12 athletes to a maximum of 40 team members. The eligibility is for, it's open to co-ed. So all boys and girls may participate on the team. They need to be between 9th and 12th grade. Please remember that any student in your district who is receiving services from the district may participate until they are of the age 21. Okay, so that usually pertains mostly to your athletes. So again, up to the age of 21. And as always, students who are participating in any PIAA interscholastic sports teams, and that includes your high school's track and field team, they are not eligible to participate on the unified track and field team. We often talk about proportionality. We do appreciate when your teams are 50-50, and that is 50% of your team is an eligible Special Olympic athlete. This is someone who has an intellectual disability, development disability, including autism or a cognitive delay. And then the other percentage, the other 50% would be your general education students. We are very realistic. We know that 50-50 is an ideal goal, and this is not often able to happen. So we are okay with a 60-40, okay, or 40-60, whichever way you would like to say it. And the 40 being either athletes and versus partners, and then partners versus athletes. So either way, it works for us as long as you are maintaining the 40 to 60%. Practices are twice a week. Okay, remember that they are twice a week, and if you have a meet during that week, it is considered a practice. So some weeks you will have 2 practices, some weeks you will have 1 practice and a meet. You will have at least 3 meets, and that will be a home meet, an away meet, and then the regional championship. You are not limited to 3 meets. If you and another school would like to have more than that, we are more than happy to schedule you for more than 3 meets. Coaches, if you have 12 team members to 24 team members, we would expect that you have 2 coaches. You may have more, that is completely up to you. If you are 25 to 35 team members, we're looking for 3 coaches, and from 35 to 40 team members, we are looking for 4 coaches. It's very difficult to coach a team of 24 or even 40 with 1 coach. So this is why we are making these recommendations. Again, you may have more coaches, that is up to you. And you also may have volunteer coaches. Just need to work that out with your school districts. We feel that it's important that your coaches specialize in events. So for example, if you have 2 coaches, 1 coach may handle all the field events, and the other coach at that time, when the field event practice would be taking place, they would be helping to assist that coach. They would be checking athletes' forms and helping them out. Okay. The other coach then would be taking care of the track events. While the 1 coach is taking care of the track events, the other coach again would be getting athletes in line, ready to go, and also checking form. And finally, the 2 coaches would share the relay events, which take place last. So we're going to move on to due dates, and I'd like to introduce you to Jason Marola. And Jason is now our leader for the Greater Lehigh Valley and Pocono region. So Jason, hand it over to you for the due dates.
Thanks, Jen. So next week, the week of March 1st will be the first practice date. And then April 6th at 6:30 and April 8th at 3:30 p.m. we will have webinars on how to use the electronic score sheets. And then Wednesday, March 17th will be the due date for your participant rosters via a Google Doc link. And then again, Mike Jordan spoke on it. I'll hit on it again. The PIAA medical waiver should be on file with your school, and you do not need to send those to us. And the SOPA online waiver must be completed by a participant if under 18 by their parent or guardian. And let your liaison know if you need a hard copy of that waiver. And we will reach out if we do see that any are not submitted. Wednesday, March 24th will be your last day to order uniforms to make sure that they're there for competition. Monday, March 29th to April 9th will be time trials. You will schedule your own time trials and submit them via the Google Docs link. And that will go to your SOPA liaison. The track and field event, at the track and field event, a student in their first meet is locked in for the rest of the season. There is no changes. Monday, April 12th to May 7th, the regular season meets, and then May 10th to May 19th, the regional or city will be the regional or city championships. And I will pass it back over to Mike Jordan.
Thanks, Jason. So here are the events that are offered. You can see on this slide, they will go in order. So the order will be the 100, the 400, and the 800, followed by the field events that happen simultaneously, shot put, running long jump, and mini jav, finishing up with the 4x1 relay and the 4x4 relay. Each school can make 2 relay teams for each event. So they can have 2 teams that run the 4x1 and 2 teams that run the 4x400. Each participant may only compete in 1 track event, 1 field event, and 1 relay event. They don't have to participate in one of each. They can just participate in 1 track event. They can just participate in 1 field event or just 1 relay, but the maximum participation of any participant would be 1 of each. As Jason said before, for time trials, once the participant selects the events that they'll be competing in throughout the track and field season, this won't change. So as I said before, your school is allowed to have 2 teams for each relay. Does not matter in what order the athletes and partners are running. So it can be athlete, partner, athlete, partner, athlete, athlete, partner, partner, or any kind of combination that you'd like to put together for your school. As far as the alternates for the relay, your track and field program is able to have 1 of each. And the teams must remain the same for each competition. And if 2 athletes and 2 partners are not present for the registered relay team, then the team will not be able to run on that meet day. So for wheelchairs, so for manual wheelchairs, they can compete in track events, relay events, and field events, and they also can compete against participants that do not use wheelchairs. For battery powered or mechanical chairs, they may compete in track events and field events only. They're not able to compete in relay events, and they will also not be able to compete against those who are not using battery powered or power chairs. And now I'm going to pass it to Jen for divisions. Ashley, sorry.
All good. So I'm going to touch on divisions a little bit. As you guys all know, we have students with and without disabilities competing against each other in co-ed divisions within each event. These divisions are determined by the entrants having similar qualifying times. This is why we run the time trials. Those times are submitted to SOPA, to us, your liaisons, prior to the start of competition. Jason talked about those dates a couple minutes ago. We need those times because this helps us create divisions that are equal for each event and for all of the students. So after your first meet, the times and distances taken from competition will be what is used for divisioning for the rest of the season. So once they're set in that division, that's what we keep them at for the season. They are updated for each participant when improvements occur. Ideally, the variance between the highest and lowest score in a competition division should be no more than 15 to 20%. But this variance can be expanded in order to have fuller divisions of 3 or more competitors. So for divisions of 1, an individual event or relay, the scoring is based on athletes exceeding their qualifying time or distance. So if a qualifying time is beat and that athlete is not disqualified, 5 points will be awarded, which is comparable to first place. If they do not beat their qualifying time, 3 points will be awarded, comparable to second place. And this is the same rule we have been using for divisions of 1 in our motorized wheelchair races before. All right, I'm going to pass it to Jason for meet management.
Thank you. For weather issues, as a reminder, at practice, if you hear thunder or lightning, stop practice for 30 minutes. And if after 20 minutes you hear or see more activity, you're going to need to start the count over, and do not rely on clear sky or lack of rainfall for that indication. Prior to a meet, the homeschool AD will make the phone call to postpone the meet, and the AD will contact that visiting school's AD to postpone the meet and reschedule. During the meet itself, that PIAA official will be the decision maker on when to call that meet and when to resume. For uniforms, 1 bib will be issued to an athlete per season, and that same number must be used for the entire year. If it is lost, a paper one must be made with the same number that was originally issued. And as a reminder, NFHS track and field rules, they do not prohibit the wearable technology, but no competitor may receive electronically transmitted data from a coach or other third party, which will result in a disqualification. How-to documents, these will be located in your coach's handbook for the mini jab, your shot put, and your running long jump. The pages in the resource guide have diagrams and step-by-step directions on how to set up and measure the field events. And you'll definitely want to also print off one-page documents for competition management as they provide setup instructions and the volunteer roles. The personnel required at a meet. You will need a meet director, which as a reminder cannot be the host coach. It must be a separate person, a PIAA official, a tabulator, 3 minimum volunteers, 2 official scorers, and a public address announcer. And for volunteers, in your coach's handbook, you will find information on the volunteers needed to run your track meet, as well as a volunteer need sheet. And that'll give you the volunteer roles needed, as well as what those positions entail.
All right, thanks, Jason. Okay, so that's the information we have for you. So I'm gonna check the chat box real quick. So for one question is, how many volunteers do they need? And the number of volunteers is 13, plus those positions that Jason had mentioned. So let me take you back there. Okay, so it's 13 volunteers. Then you'll need a meet director, an official, a tabulator, 2 scorers, and a public address announcer. The 13 volunteers will be able to cover the running events, then move right into your field events, and then right back for your relays. So the same 13 volunteers will handle all the competition. And yes, the question is the fitness heptathlon a spring option? If your school is not able to be participating in track and field this year for any of the huge number of reasons, please talk to your liaison about the spring fitness heptathlon. So Shannon is asking about the points. So it says, even during COVID, if an athlete or a partner gets quarantined, we just can't score points in that event. Is that the same with the relay? Yes, so you wouldn't be scoring points for that athlete, but remember, the day of your event, we use the equalizer to help the point system to make sure it is fair for all participants. So if you normally have 30 team members that day, if you have an athlete or a partner out, you would just drop to 28 or 29, however many you have. And then those who do score, their points would be higher. So we will have regional competition, yes, but we will not have state competition this year. We will not be going to Shippensburg to stay overnight.
Jen, I think there was a question in there too about if there's more athletes than partners. We still do need you to follow the 50-50 up to 60-40%. Without that, it's not considered a unified sport. I know it's difficult this year with COVID, but we do still need at least 60-40.
If you are having difficulty, again, please contact your SOPA liaison. We are here to help you. So how we will handle things in the next couple of weeks, you'll be being contacted by your SOPA liaison, and we will be asking you if you will be doing virtual competition or if you will be doing in-person competition. Okay, at that point, those who are doing virtual competition, if you are competing, if you happen to be a school who is doing in person, but that day the team you are playing is doing virtual, then you will also be doing virtual. Virtual will always trump the in-person teams. If you're both in person, both schools are in person and can travel, great, okay? But if one of you is virtual, then we will have to do virtual that day. If things change, we can be flexible. So if your school starts out and they're working in person, but unfortunately your school now is on virtual because of an outbreak, then we can turn your meets to virtual. Okay? So we'll be very flexible, but we'll need you to make a commitment to one or the other at the beginning so we know where we're starting. And then once we get to your regional championships, we'll have to weigh how many teams are virtual, how many are in person, and we will figure out our championships there from there on. Another question is about the relay. Again, the relay has 6 members to it. So 4 of those 6 members must be present at an event. So if you have 2 athletes and 2 partners as your main 4, you may have 1 athlete and 1 partner as an alternate. If 2 athletes don't show up for school that day and you only have 1 athlete as an alternate, then the relay will not count. We'll probably let you run it if they're there. We don't mind if you run it. It's just that you will not receive points for that relay because it must be 2 athletes, 2 partners from the original 6 members.
Jen, I just got a separate question. If somebody was having internet issues today during the recording, will they be able to watch this recording by chance?
Absolutely. We'll be the recording. We're actually recording right now. So we will make a copy available to you on Thursday. It will be available after tomorrow night's replay of this for the rest of the coaches who couldn't make it today. So yes, we will be sending out the slides as well as the recording. And by Thursday, we will have a handbook link in your emails so that you will be able to view the handbook until your hard copy arrives. Okay, some things while you're thinking of questions or typing them in. Just a reminder, if you have requested from your liaison some equipment replacement, please know that it will be arriving by Friday or Monday at the latest. If you have not told your liaison that you have broken equipment, please do so as soon as possible so it can be mailed to you. If you need to make the decision about what your school's plans are, if you need to include the principal, the athletic director, or the superintendent, please make sure you are scheduling an appointment with them. So by next Friday, you will have an idea of what to tell your SOPA liaison. And as always, fill out those rosters and let's get those teams going. Any additional questions? Look at that, it is 10 after 4, not too bad. If you do come up with some questions, please feel free to send them to your liaison, your SOPA liaison, and we will gladly get those answers for you and the information back to you. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.